Alright, hey guys, it's your retired teacher back again. It's midnight. Go figure, this is probably the earliest stream I've done in a while. And I'm here to talk to you guys about Period 4, which includes the Jeffersonian era. It includes Marbury versus Madison, judicial review stuff. It includes all the significant things from Jefferson's presidency and into Madison's presidency, the War of 1812, into John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson, and then rounding it off, we've got antebellum reform. So all of that is included within Period 4. So here we go. Let's go ahead and talk about our first big subject, which is the Jeffersonian era. So let's go ahead and begin with where it started, the Revolution of 1800. So we had mentioned this last time on our last video when we talked about John Adams, and we mentioned how the election of 1800 was revolutionary in a sense that this is our first real test to the country when it comes to a transition of power. Now, in other countries around the world, a transition of power is freaking scary. Let's face it, other countries, even today, when there's a transition of power from one ruling party to the other, there's sometimes violence in the streets, chaos, economy is plunging. I mean, it's just bad, just bad for a little while. So with the election of 1800, this was our first big deal here where we're going to transfer power from one party to another. So John Adams loses this election to Thomas Jefferson and subsequently Aaron Burr. So we're going to see the Democrat-Republicans take over. And with this peaceful transition of power, we realize that our country actually works. Our Constitution works. It didn't break apart. It didn't go away. So we are actually good. We're actually good, even though many Federalists are going to have their doubts about Jefferson. Let's face it, when you see a screeching eagle with lightning bolts and the devil pulling Jefferson so that he can bring down the pillars of federal government that George Washington and John Adams had established, Federalists don't really view Thomas Jefferson in a positive light. So they feel that, dangerous and radical ideas are going to come into play because Thomas Jefferson's in charge. And after all, he's Mr. Democrat-Republican, leading the charge for their opposing party. But what Jefferson does during his inaugural address is that he makes sure to kind of make the room feel that we're in this together. With his very famous quote, "We are all Republicans, we are all Federalists." Meaning that, hey, don't matter what political party we're from, we're essentially all the same. And we're all Americans. So with these pearls of wisdom that Thomas Jefferson has bestowed on us, Federalists still are kind of weary about him. I mean, come on now. With this political cartoon, you got God peeking over with his one eye right there, looking at the screeching eagle again, ready to claw out Jefferson's face because it looks like he's going to burn the Constitution on the altar of despotism, with the devil hanging out in the bottom, laughing. I mean, this is kind of the view of the Federalists, even after those words that Thomas Jefferson said. So, Thomas Jefferson, though, as a president, he's going to believe in this whole notion that less government is best, right? So Thomas Jefferson is going to push a lot of, the Democrat-Republican ideals on the country and carry them out. So he's going to encourage agriculture and westward expansion in his presidency. And he really does want to limit the size and the scope of government. Because after all, he believes in more local control, state control over the expanse of the large, strong central government. So when it comes to immigration, a large number of immigrants supported the Democrat Republicans. So Jefferson's policy will reflect that, in that he's going to make it easier for immigrants to become citizens. When, remember, during Adams's presidency, it became harder. So another thing that Jefferson's going to push is that he's going to push this whole notion of laissez faire, which means like this leave alone kind of approach to government, like a hands-off approach. So we shouldn't really interfere in the lives of the economy, or in the lives of citizens or the economy, and kind of just like step back. We interfere when we kind of need to, but we're just going to let things roll. So that's the whole notion of laissez faire. Now, besides aspiring to be an agrarian society and pushing for westward expansion, this would be kind of like the defining reasons why the Louisiana Purchase is going to be so lucrative and so appealing to a man like Jefferson. So let's get some historical context for this, though. So back in 1803, all right, we want to make a play for the city of New Orleans because it's a major port, right? You control New Orleans, you control the Mississippi River. So we want to have rights to sail down the Mississippi, travel through New Orleans, and by this point in time, it's no longer in the Spanish control. It is now reverted back to France. So we had a deal with Spain before, but now that it's with the French, we kind of need to renegotiate here. So Napoleon is really preoccupied at this point in time. Not only is he fighting wars in Europe, he's also having to deal with the Haitian Revolution that Toussaint L'Ouverture has already started up. And so to Napoleon, he's just like, man, having this vast empire here in the New World is just giving me a freaking headache. I need some cash to finance my wars in Europe. I'm gonna sell this cheap. So here's what we have. Initially, we came in wanting to offer $10 million for New Orleans and just a strip of land extending from New Orleans to Florida. Okay, just narrow strip right there. So $10 million for that. Now, if the negotiations kind of went south, our ministers were instructed to go ahead and begin negotiations with Great Britain for an alliance. So Napoleon's like, hold up here. Napoleon's ministers are like, hold up, let's give you a deal. All right, we want some cash. You want this land. How about instead of just for New Orleans, you get the whole thing. $15 million, take it or leave it. So of course Jefferson is gonna be like, dude, take it. Take the deal. So Jefferson and his party base, farmers, people who want to expand westward, are going to be like, hell yes, land. We want this freaking land. So Jefferson is going to go against what he previously said about the Constitution. He was giving Hamilton a hard-ass time about, oh, hey, this whole loose construction thing, implied powers, read in between the lines, necessary and proper clause crap that he gave Hamilton about the Bank of the United States. Jefferson's going to use that same thought process to justify the federal government's purchase of the Louisiana Territory. So, yeah, he used it. He used it to his advantage. And therefore, he was able to go ahead and negotiate that treaty to purchase this land from Louisiana. Well, purchase this land in Louisiana from the French. So what we're talking here, the Louisiana Purchase is going to double the size of the United States. I mean, we are paying for freaking dirt cheap here. 4 cents an acre. Like, dude, even if you adjust for inflation, that is still hella cheap. Like, that's maybe like a couple hundred or something for an acre. That's unheard of, man. Like, you want a couple hundred for an acre, you're basically buying, like, unusable land, like desert or toxic waste or something. But seriously, 4 cents an acre, a hell of a deal of a lifetime. So essentially, this Louisiana Purchase is gonna, like, get Jefferson freaking popular around the country. He strengthens his party base, and, you know, with this whole, like, love of an agrarian society that Jefferson has, I mean, yeah, we're gonna freaking push for this. So, Federalists back in New England can't freaking stand this. They're like, oh my god, Jefferson's becoming popular. What the crap. But anyways, Jefferson's popularity shines on through with the rest of the country, thanks to the Louisiana Purchase and all this land that we picked up. So, we need to kind of explore this place, because we've never been out there. I mean, we've been as far as, like, the Mississippi, and that's it. We've never been beyond it. So, now that we have this new land at our disposal, we need to have a series of expeditions to go ahead and check it out. So, the 2 men up for the job here are going to be William Clark and Meriwether Lewis. I forget which one was, like, the soldier and which one was, like, more like the cartographer kind of dude. Somebody look that up and post it, like, in the comments below. I'm not going to look that up during the stream. Sorry. But anyways. So, Thomas Jefferson sends Lewis and Clark out to investigate this unknown territory. And this is the map that they took with them. Notice how it has rivers, and that's it. They don't even freaking know the Rocky Mountains are out there. I mean, they have a rough estimate of what the coastline looks like because of British explorations into that territory on what would be the present day Canada side. But essentially, we're like, dude, we don't even know if Bigfoot's out here. We don't know anything. We're just gonna, like, friggin' roll with this and hope we don't get eaten by bears or something. So, this is the long-ass journey that they're making across this new territory. Their goal is to reach the West Coast and to totally, like, map it out. I mean, they're sketching in their notebook, like, all of the flora and fauna and just animals and, like, other wildlife and whatever that they see out there. So, yeah, this is going to take a long-ass time. Because, I mean, come on, they're prepping for this trip all the way to the East Coast. They're recruiting, like, a bunch of badasses along the way until they reach, you know, the Mississippi River. And then from there, they start their long trek into the vast unknown westward. So, they're going to need some help now. Because, I mean, that's a long freaking way to go without knowing anybody. So, luckily, they come into contact with Sacagawea and her husband, Toussaint Charbonneau. So, he's a French fur trader. And one of the two, I forget if it was Lewis or Clark, again, somebody, like, look that up in the freaking comments. So, one of the two was able to speak French. So they're able to communicate with her husband, who communicated with her, and then back and forth, right? So she's going to hook them up with, like, contact with the various tribes along the way, just basically telling them, hey, these dudes are fine. They're not going to shoot you. They're just looking around kind of thing. So this proved instrumental. I mean, seriously. She helped navigate and, like, help us, like, reach the coast and whatnot. So we don't know what happened to Sacagawea, like, after that. We don't know what happened to her husband or to the baby strapped on her back while she's, like, scaling, like, freaking Rocky Mountains and stuff. Like, badass woman. So anyways, yeah, we don't know what happens to her after the fact, but definitely she freaking helped out the Lewis and Clark expedition. So, now that we've survived this expedition into the unknown and come back with a bunch of sketches, really the Lewis and Clark expedition is going to prompt major westward expansion now, because now people know what's out there. They know where the good farmland is. They know, you know, Native American tribes now, because, I mean, they documented that in their diaries and such. and they have more accurate like overland routes and all this stuff that we need to go ahead and westward expand so we can bring out settlers, fur trappers, you name it. All right. So there will be subsequent explorations into this area. Zebulon Pike is going to lead another one, and he's going to go further into the Louisiana Territory. He's also going to explore the Arkansas and the Red Rivers, so he's going to get a little bit closer to Spanish land. Reconnaissance mission? Possibly. So, yeah, he's going to like check out like Spanish settlements in New Mexico, and just check and see how secure those borders are with Spain. All right, another person who's going to lead an expedition is going to be Stephen Harriman Long. This is the third expedition into the great unknown that is Louisiana Territory. He's going to explore the land between the Mississippi and the Rockies. So he's going to go all the way through Yellowstone country with his steamboat, which is pretty freaking impressive, not gonna lie. So, dude, a steamboat resembling dragons? That's freaking awesome. I want to see that steamboat. So anyways, he's gonna go ahead and explore this area and let us know like what's up. So that's a little bit of land acquisition for Thomas Jefferson. Let's go ahead and talk about these so-called midnight judges and judicial review and the subsequent court case of Marbury versus Madison. So, little historical context for that court case. John Adams. Okay, this is what John Adams says. John Adams, as he's leaving office, is going to be like, you know what? Let's appoint a whole bunch of federal judges and have them already in place so that when Jefferson comes in, he has to deal with a whole bunch of dudes he doesn't agree with. So the Federalists are going to pass the Judiciary Act of 1801 in the final weeks of John Adams's presidency. And so these so-called midnight judges, because some of these judges didn't get their appointments until literally the stroke of midnight. Let's face it, they were like last-minute appointments. Are really a thorn in Jefferson's sides because, with all these Federalists in, federal courts here, they could overrule like a lot of Jefferson's appointments. So, it was going to be really, really crazy. Now, Jefferson is going to refuse to seat some of these judges who have commissions because they were delivered too late. So one of these people is going to be William Marbury. So William Marbury is like, hey, I should be a federal judge. I went through the confirmation and all this stuff. I should be one. So what had happened, though, is that our Secretary of State, James Madison, is like, I'm not going to, deliver this dude's commission. He's a freaking Federalist. No way. We didn't appoint him. So they failed to meet the deadline, okay? So that's what they're bringing up to the Supreme Court. Chief Justice John Marshall, a fellow Federalist, remember he was appointed back during Washington's time, he's going to look at this case along with his associate justices, and they're going to be like, you know what? Let's rule on this. So in essence, he is establishing the principle of judicial review, which means that the Supreme Court is utilizing its checks and balances, essentially, over both the executive branch and judicial branch. They are reviewing federal laws and executive actions and orders by the president. So you see, they are essentially declaring their checks and balances. So what they decide to do is that they decided that Marbury should be given his commission, but ultimately they also decided that the Judiciary Act was unconstitutional. So it was kind of like this weird thing. But anyways, the fact that the judicial branch is reviewing, laws in the books already, that's an important thing. And from now on, the Supreme Court's function is to put a check on the other two branches, like legit. So that is essentially Marbury versus Madison. Now let's go ahead and talk about Jefferson's second term, because he's a two-term guy. So in 1804, he's going to run against Charles Pinckney. And Pinckney was, forever trying to be vice president with like John Adams back in the day. But so who is elected? Well, Thomas Jefferson again. Aaron Burr's got some interesting stuff going on here. Aaron Burr is going to no longer be our vice president, for one. But he's going to have it out with Alexander Hamilton. And I forget how the fight started. I think somebody insulted somebody's like family member or something. And all you Hamilton fans could go ahead and school me on that. Seriously. So, anyways, Hamilton and Burr have been at odds. I mean, politically they have been at odds because I believe Hamilton had like something to do with Aaron Burr not getting like elected or something in New York or something or another. But anyways, their once friendship during the Revolution just went by the wayside, and now they freaking hate each other. So, Hamilton's going to speak out against Burr on several occasions. Burr just gets pissed and tired of it. And he's going to confront Alexander Hamilton and challenge him to a duel. So in traditional fashion, we use our pistols before our swords. But you can't have this happen in New York. New York does not allow duels at this time. So they're going to cross the state lines into New Jersey, because New Jersey's all about the duels back then. So Hamilton, I believe, like shot up in the air or something, and then Burr is like, I'm gonna shoot you. And he did. He shot Alexander Hamilton, his liver and his spine, and Hamilton will die the next day. So the scandals do not end there with Aaron Burr, guys. Aaron Burr later on is going to try to lead a coup, or okay, let's just go through this ridiculousness. All right, so he forms a secret pact with some radical Federalists. He wants to try to win that governorship in New York, unite New England like together, and then like freaking leave the Union. Okay, so he's trying to do that. All right, he's gonna go leave towards the west in 1805. At the end of his vice presidential term. And he wants to try to seize land from Mexico that was in Spanish possession still, and land in the Louisiana Territory. He wants to basically carve out what the rectangle is and make that his own country. Man, the treason is shining on through. So anyways, Aaron Burr, his plan is found out by Army General Wilkinson, who was one of his co-conspirators. He ended up ratting out Aaron Burr to Thomas Jefferson. And so Burr is going to be charged with treason. Rightfully so. The dude's trying to like make his own country and stuff. Come on now. So, there's no solid evidence against him though, so Aaron Burr ends up becoming acquitted at his trial that Chief Justice John Marshall happened to be presiding over, because it does go all the way up to that level of court. So, yeah, that is some crazy crap from like early politics. Like, okay, the whole thing about like shooting and having a duel with Alexander Hamilton. All right. This is a former vice president doing this to a former Secretary of Treasury. Can you guys imagine the vice president doing that to a cabinet member right now? Like, former cabinet member, former vice president? Dude's crazy. But early American politics, guys, never a dull moment. Speaking of never a dull moment, did you guys know we went to war with freaking pirates? Yeah, pirates. That's what the Barbary Wars are all about. So, this is going to be a major foreign policy issue for Thomas Jefferson. It's his first major foreign policy issue. So, here's the deal. We actually had pirates, okay? Legit pirates. Like, not as cool as, like, Pirates of the Caribbean pirates, but, like, pirates nonetheless, okay? They're from Northern Africa. They're from places like the Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, Morocco, that area. So, they usually seize merchant ships. European nations in the past have paid them tribute, and so that they could get protection for their ships, and the pirates end up happy because they get some cash and not have to like work for it. So, all right. When we got our independence, Great Britain, of course, stopped paying our tribute. So our ships are going to start to get attacked, and the Tripoli pirates here are going to demand that we pay them a bribe, some tribute, mind you, so that they can keep things together and they don't have to, like, attack us and stuff. And we can sail pretty safely. So Jefferson's gonna be like, no, you're a freaking pirate. I'm not gonna pay you. So that starts up the Barbary Wars. Jefferson's going to send our couple of Navy ships that we actually have and the newly formed Marines out to the Mediterranean to go ahead and battle these pirates. So we're talking about, like, the shores of Tripoli there. So you ever wondered with the Marines, song, their anthem, pretty much? That's why. This is where they get their, like, big time start. So, anyways. Eventually, Tripoli and the other, like, pirate states are going to ask the U.S. to end the war. It's just not worth it. So, the U.S. is going to be like, hey, stop attacking our ships. They're going to be like, okay, fine, we agree. But you're going to have to pay some ransom to get your sailors back. So, they call it a deal. But anyways, we feel like we got the upper hand on this. We feel that, hey, we survived the pirate attacks, the Barbary Wars, and that we're capable of fighting on foreign soil. So this is like a win for us. We feel awesome. So anyways, the Barbary states are going to resume their attacks. It happens, but we got bigger fish to fry at that time. We got the War of 1812 occupying us. So it's going to be until later when we, fight the pirates again and win. So anyways, this is the area we're talking about where the Barbary Wars occurred. And if you're curious to see portrayals of the Barbary Wars, here's what's going down. Yeah, we got that. So anyways, pirates. We fight pirates. So, when it comes to the British, though, the British are probably our biggest foreign policy problem during Jefferson's presidency. And it's not going to get resolved until, well, Madison and the War of 1812. So, Britain and France are still fighting in war out in Europe. And the British fleet is, like, seriously, like, losing a lot of men, a lot of ships. Merchant ships are caught in the middle of the British fighting the French fleet. So France is going to seize 500 of our ships. Great Britain's going to seize 1,000. We're going to lose a lot of cargo to both nations, and we're angry at both. We're like, what the hell, guys? Like, come on now. But Great Britain's going to get the edge on this, though, probably because of how it's been building up. So our trade has steadily increased by that time, but we are so angry at the British and what they're doing to our sailors, and that's impressment. So here's what's going down. we are forcing sailors, well, the British is forcing our sailors to join their navy or their army. So they're like straight up marching onto our merchant ships, being like, hey, you guys belong to us. You're joining our navy and our army. And working for the British Navy at the time was like freaking hell. So they were treated so bad. Dangerous conditions, like nobody wanted to do it. Now, there's this one instance where the British warship, the Leopard, is going to attack the USS Chesapeake, which is one of our Navy ships. Now, this is off the coast of Virginia where this is going on. The Leopard is trying to search for some deserters. They think they're on board the Chesapeake. So they're going to be like, hey, Chesapeake, let us board you. Let us, like, check out who your crew is. And Chesapeake is like, no. This is our ship. No. So the British are going to open fire on the Chesapeake. It's going to kill several of our sailors, wounding a lot more. And the Chesapeake is, like, in shambles now. I mean, it's, like, you know, freaking defenseless. So the British just march on in. You know, they board the ship. They're going to take 4 of our sailors, and the Chesapeake has to, like, struggle to make it back on shore. So when this word gets out to the American public, the public are going to be like, what the hell, Jefferson? Declare war. Dude, like, that's it. Declare war. Jefferson, however, doesn't want to get into war. He's going to do something that's going to be dumb. He thinks it's the right thing to do because he wants to prevent war. But in the end, it's going to end up hurting us more than anything. So what he's going to do is he's going to press Congress to go ahead and pass the Embargo Act, which basically means we're going to outlaw trade with all European nations during the Napoleonic Wars. He's hoping that this Embargo Act will go ahead and force the hand of the British and the French and get them to stop interfering with our merchant ships. But in reality, what this thing does is it tanks our economy. Look at our exports. Like, no one is buying our crap because we basically outlawed our trading partners because of this Embargo Act. So, merchants in New England already hate Jefferson because he's a Democrat Republican and they're Federalists. They hate him even more now because now he is literally hurting their pocketbooks with this Embargo Act. Because merchants in New England, come on now, they deal with trade. And the Embargo Act is bad for trade. So they're calling for its repeal. And it gets so bad that people in New England are going to be like, you know what, screw this, we should leave the United States. They're calling for secession. It's a small minority so far, but I mean, come on, the thought is there. So what Congress does is they're going to repeal the Embargo Act. This is after Jefferson's gone from office. They're going to repeal the Embargo Act and replace it instead with the aptly named Non-Intercourse Act. Yeah, you heard me right. That's what they called it. I see you guys laughing. I hear you guys laughing. Stop. Okay, so basically what this breaks down to is that instead of not trading with anybody in Europe, we basically limit it to not trading with Britain or France. Okay, so it helps out a little bit, but I mean, like we saw in the graph here, the damage is already done. Our economy just like friggin' tanked because of this Embargo Act. It's starting to get a little better at the Non-Intercourse Act, but still people feel that this embargo, like these policies from Jefferson, are just really hurting us more than they're hurting them. So that's why we get this political cartoon right here. The "Oh grab me" turtle, it's embargo spelled backwards. There you go. So essentially during Jefferson's presidency, this is what we saw. He's going to refuse to run for a 3rd term as well. He's going to take his cue from George Washington's lead, and he's going to be like, yeah, you know, I'm done. 2 terms, good. Next one. Next person can have it. So essentially what we saw during Jefferson's presidency, to round us out, was you know, his whole like laissez-faire style philosophy of government, the appointment of the midnight judges, and judicial review being established by Marbury versus Madison. We got the Burr conspiracy and the death of Alexander Hamilton at the hands of Aaron Burr as well, in their famous duel. We also have the Louisiana Purchase and the subsequent Lewis and Clark expeditions that explored this area. We fought against freaking pirates in the Barbary War. The British, like, impressed our sailors and even attacked one of our warships with the Chesapeake affair. And then Thomas Jefferson tries to hurt Britain and France, but instead hurts us with the Embargo Acts and the Non-Intercourse Acts. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is Thomas Jefferson's presidency in a nutshell for you guys. So I hope you guys are cool with this stream. I hope the stream didn't crap out on me like it did during the Adams one last time. But anyways, so hope you guys enjoyed this video. We're going to come back with you guys again tomorrow or the following day with the Madison administration and the War of 1812. So, alright guys, I will see you later. Bye.